Episode 141 of the BIC podcast, and a continuation of a bit from multiple weeks. Based on feedback, I feel that some bits need to continue more weeks. More of that on Friday. Because you see, 2 weeks, Brandon, is light work for us.
Oh my God.
Super light work. More of that on Friday. We'll get to it. Otherwise, we got the silly card of the week as always. These guys got some pickups. So they actually got some pickups. This should be a lot of fun. And then we're going to talk about a couple of things related to it. We did, only hours ago, get the announcement that 4 collectors are going to be taken on Hobby Hotline. I've got a couple of thoughts on that. I also got a couple of thoughts based on a couple of video-related things. And then we'll touch on a couple of other things related to maybe a little bit of marketing. We'll get into a couple of different... It's a hodgepodge of topics again. A smorgasbord.
They never believe that we just kind of...
Eric, I was giving you a chance. Go ahead, say it. This is your moment.
Cornucopia.
Of topics. That and more on this episode of the BIC podcast. Yes, under the watchful eyes of Brett Favre. Eric, 2 weeks? That's a shocker. Look, that horse will be beaten into glue, goddammit. It's going to the factory.
Yeah, nothing good's going to come out of any of this.
We're taking it to the house, Eric. That's a challenge. Them's fighting words. I'm just warming up now. Now I'm getting excited. This is going to be good. All right, let me go over a couple of things here. We'll start off with the silly card of the week. I got the results from last week. 48 votes. A strong return to form on the votes. We do appreciate that.
Thank you.
The only true democracy in this world, and I shall give you the results now. The results were nothing but net. So Brandon was able to successfully secure 54% of the popular votes, over 50%.
There you go.
Congratulations.
I knew it was silly.
Indeed. Crazy Eyes only got 29%, which is a little disappointing. And only 17% appreciated the Calgary CPA.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have got more, but okay. All right. I'm listening to the people.
Yeah,
we need more likes on that, though. Only 2 likes?
We're working
on.
Yeah.
Show Eric the respect.
Show him a little more love. Listen, like I said, show a little love. Show a little love. Again, more on Friday about the great Battle of Massachusetts. A little disappointing. Kind of the way you would expect that a Battle of Massachusetts to go. It was about the way that you would expect.
It was a peace treaty.
Yeah, the armistice of Massachusetts.
It was like the Tea Party or something. Didn't they do that up there?
The Tea Party was a lot more violent. The Tea Party was a lot more interesting.
Well,
the people threw those tea bags with some ferocity.
We've told Eric bicycling would be cool if there was actually violence involved. And he's always against it. So we should have knew.
Yeah, cyclocross, again, we should have learned the lesson, to your point, from cyclocross, which on paper sounds awesome. Yeah. It sounds like the post-apocalyptic battle event of our time. Instead, Eric explained it was lame. It's so lame.
Awesome.
Wow. So we got that going for us. We'll talk about the silly card of the week.
Stories, and I'll tell some lies on Friday. Okay, I'll make it entertaining and worth your while.
Well, look, it's the least we can do, Eric. That's the only way we're going to be able to keep this going past 2 weeks. It's the only way.
We'll go past 2 weeks.
We'll manage. We'll somehow get there. They make it too easy for me, Brandon. They just make it too easy. It's too good. All right. Here we go. Let's go into the silly card of the week this week, brought to us by our friends at AMG Collectibles, AMGcollectibles.ca, AMG Collectibles YouTube channel, scrolling ticker across the bottom, links in the description. This week, Collector Scalps, Collector People Steve has got more of a variety. We've had some very strong vintage, and I'll touch on that in a minute related to it. Episode will drop on the normal time. I do have to record on a slightly different time schedule. However, you, the viewer, will not notice. It might be a little bit later in the day, but otherwise you will still get it on Wednesday. Regardless, you will still get it on the day you should expect. And again, we thank every AMG for supporting the podcast and the channel.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
So you said Collector the Scallops.
And Collector People, yes.
And before I forget this, I want to just... So my wife went to Virginia Beach, just a quick overnight trip with her sister.
Okay.
And she proceeds to call me. They went out for dinner Friday night. And she's like, I was trying to eat healthy, and I asked the guy, like, what was good on the menu and everything, and he said the special was shrimp and scallops. Now, if you heard that, would you not proceed to say, oh, what does it consist of, how much? No, she just ordered it. And then proceeded to call and tell me that they got the check, and her special was $50. And it was only like I think she said it was like 3 scallops and a couple of pieces of shrimp or something. What? This is after a few weeks ago. She tells me, "Hey, I've ordered some steaks on the grocery meal on the grocery order."
Remember
I
that
take
one?
it out of the bag, and it's this little tiny piece of filet mignon that's like $20, and I'm like, "Who the hell is this feeding?" Anyway, you said collected the scallops. She was collecting the scallops and apparently ordered a $50 plate that wasn't even much. So
This is how I know, Eric, that Brandon hasn't watched Hell's Kitchen, because if you ever check out Hell's Kitchen, and by the way, a fun program if you ever get a chance to watch it.
My wife used to
They,
watch it. I used to sit in the room while she was watching it, but I never really got into it myself.
I enjoy it for what it is, especially if you can binge watch it. It's better as a binge watch. I will say this, that scallops is one of the key things they put on their menu, and obviously they make it look like it's a high-end, highfalutin menu, and scallops are part of it.
she told my daughter, and my daughter had the same identical response that I did. You should have knew it was going to be expensive. Like, you hear that and you should have prepared for it. She's like, I had no clue it was going to be that much. He said it was the special. Yeah. Okay.
Now I know that that we here in the Boston area talk a little funny sometimes.
Sometimes.
But I've never called it a scallop. I've always called it a scallop. Am I wrong in calling it a scallop?
Sight unseen, Eric, I would always say you're wrong. There's no time at which I do not say you're wrong.
I've always heard it called scallops.
Yeah,
and scallions. They're scallions too.
Yeah.
So I just up here we just scallops.
Well, maybe you got the defective one.
Well, you also
You
say
got the Chinese.
cod.
What if they're the Chinese? What if what you actually got was the Chinese knockoff scallops?
It's
You should have gotten the scallop, but instead
I
you
think
got
it's
the
the way you
scallops.
enunciate your A's.
maybe
Roll
because
them A's, Eric. Roll them.
we sometimes say car,
Cod.
and then we take that R that we didn't use and we put it on the end of other words like pizza.
Yeah.
See?
So maybe we're not
Anyways,
pronouncing, scallops correctly, but that is how we say it up here.
I was not mad at her. I just laughed.
You just
You were just disappointed. You were disappointed.
No, I didn't care. Her and her sister went. They're gonna start doing like little girl trips and hangouts or whatever, and I think it's good for them. I wish I could do the same with my brother, but
And on an unrelated note, 50% price increases on 540 flips. If you buy from 540 flips, price is up 50% across the board for
Great.
reasons never fully explained.
No.
I need to pay for those scallops. The
no.
filet mignon.
Anyway,
Good
it was
Lord.
just funny you said that, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna share this. So
Hey, listen, Brandon, this is what we're here for. Like, we're here to share. We're here. This is therapy session for people that need it. So
Yeah.
you say your piece, live your truth. Live your truth. So anyway, all right, real quick, I'll read a couple of comments from last week's episode because there's some good ones related to it. We talked about as the National created its own competition where we were discussing some of that, and some people did have some responses on that. Appreciate it. So real quick, first one was Ed Wesker Griff here. He was saying the National needs all those rooms for the hotels across the street for the hundreds of dealers, corporate national staff, and autographed guests, which is we did allude to it as well. As the show has grown, so has the need for those rooms across the street for the groups mentioned above. The Embassy Suites where I was there on Thursday was loaded with corporate types walking around, Heritage, BGS, well, BGS, Eric, highfalutin folk. They have themselves quite the scallops. Steel City, etc. Lowe's had a strong presence of golden staff, and I noticed some PSA golf shirts, which is consistent with what we've seen in the past. Of course, some rooms will be had by normal folks, despite tending to show by sheer luck, but the days of staying across the street and looking more and more like a memory. It's been on that path since 2023, so not a surprise. And honestly, I'm surprised the National didn't hold all rooms for this year, but adjustments are being made. Those are the side effects of wanting to grow the show and make the hobby more mainstream. Excellent discussion, guys. Thank you, Ed. Philippines Collection says here, talking about what we discussed earlier about the topic of the different content and everything, said, I think you covered this topic the best of anyone so far. And again, this is just reading the comment. Unfortunately, the Professor Sports Cars fella seems to be riding high on a wave of drama lately, as currently what's working for him using this topic, which could be compared to many other niche areas on YouTube and how those areas perform similarly, not just sports car channels. It's just a shallow way for him to stir up more drama, I feel. Drama content will always surpass passion-driven content, and I think Old Professor recently discovered this. So the first part of that last sentence is true. Drama content does surpass passion-driven content because people are just interested; they're engaged in it. That's just that's just true, based on social media. Social media is driven for engagement. Engagement is the thing. As long as you can get the engagement, that's kind of how that plays out.
Good or bad,
Hodges,
it helps.
correct. 100%. Hodges 1455, give the video a like. Enjoyed the listen as always. Great discussion. Thank you. The Falsey says the Ender's Headbird card reminds me of Eric seeing mail. Facts.
Not far off.
Mm-hmm. Josh here says another great discussion. Just curious, retro. So this was a question for me here. The Retro Bit Super Retro Trio full review. I appreciate that he put the full title in there. Do you still have all those games and Blu-rays, or do you completely moved on from those? So I just said I still have most of the games. Don't play them anymore. I still have some of that stuff. Those are old videos on the channel that actually did very well. Not enough hours in the day to play games. Make fun of Eric on Friday Lives. Decisions were made for the greater good. Stuke says, the National would love to get his hands on the Splinter shows. They could grow the National without adding deals to the main location. The National can divide up the National and have autographs in a different location, breakers in a different location, etc. The Olympics, as an example, have events all over the host city or country. Winnipeg has Volcarama with locations throughout the city. The 62-63 Sheriff Metal Coins, 43, Jacques Plante All-Star would be an interesting card of the week. It's historical with the mask and yet interesting. Appreciate the suggestion. Very nice. The Burrell says, every time Eric reaches over to find a card, it's quite interesting that he always goes in the same box. What's up with that?
That middle one
Valid
back
question.
there. Yep.
Valid question. The
It's
Burrell
not
makes a valid
true.
question.
He said that on Friday. It is not.
It's like
true.
Mary Poppins' purse.
It
No.
is.
It just.
I have.
Are you
many
sure it's not a
boxes
printer?
here. Plus, I have boxes over there. There's lots of boxes around. They don't all come out of the same box. That's silly.
And they're all empty except for the one box that happens to have everything.
That's silly.
Everything.
That's just
So this wasn't a topic on our list, and so real quickly, I wanted to mention it though. And
Go on.
since Eric is the owner, I thought it'd be the best time to bring this up. You mentioned Beckett with Wesker
did.
Griff's comment.
Mhm.
I was on looking at pricing earlier today, and I found something interesting. And I don't know if anybody's spoken of it or discussed it or even noticed it, but on their bottom level, it's like $17.95 with subgrades, and I think it's $14.95 without subgrades. But then
Yes.
there's a notation on the $14.95 that says a $3 upcharge will be added for any card that gets a 10 and subgrades are added to the label. Because if you get the 10, I guess no matter what, they put the subs on there.
Yes.
Could this potentially drive more 10s hitting the market? Just allegedly for that $3 each label? Because that seemed like an easy way to make $3.
Well, you're basically saying a built-in incentive to upcharge.
Yeah.
Yeah, create your own based on a policy. Eric, are you upcharging the people?
Throw that up another
We're
half
just-
notch.
listen.
Give it a 10.
we are so far in the dumpster that we're trying to clear out of the dumpster. So the only thing we can do is mimic those that are ahead of us. And with PSA being clearly in the number one spot, and the fact that they have the PSA tax, and somehow people love that, we decided that we're going to have a Beckett tax and equally screw over our customers like PSA does. And somehow that's going to make us better and more beloved.
Now, Eric, have you considered that if you're really going to try to mimic PSA, you need to have the upcharges, the tax that you're complaining about, but then also not give people 10 so they can also complain about that simultaneously.
Yeah.
So at the same
because
time that
the
you're
10's
upcharging,
actually a good
you will
thing.
also not
no,
give people
no.
10s.
We in our storeroom, we got different sections and stuff with all the different plates and tag the numbers on them and such. And I ordered that all the tags that had 10s, we threw those away. So really the highest you can get is a 9, unless you come in on a Saturday or Sunday morning. Then we got the black labels and the pristines.
So we're completely skipping over the 9.5, which still exists.
Those may have gotten. I have to look into that. Those may have gotten thrown away.
Please
also.
do. Please double check.
But the 10s, they're in the dumpster.
I'm going to read the next comment now. And by the way, thank you all for the engagement. We do appreciate it. Baseball card curmudgeons, so Baz here says, dial up, question mark. Bobbles was once a teacher and had a promising student in class named Alexander Graham Bell. 540 Flips responded to this. I can take that as an insult, but to say I taught Alexander Graham Bell actually feels more like a compliment, so thanks. So what I'm getting out of this, Eric, is that 540 Flips seems to suggest that he's Bobbles.
Ooh, I thought 540 Flips was gone.
That's what I'm
haven't seen a
saying.
video
I'm
of
reading
that
a
guy
comment.
forever.
I'm reading a comment from 540 Flips. It says, I could take this as an insult, but to say I taught, all in caps, Alexander Graham Bell actually feels more like a compliment. Eric, we're getting to the bottom of a rabbit hole that is getting deeper and deeper by the second.
I'm closing in on him. I'm
Woo.
gonna find out who this is sooner or later, and I'm gonna just wrap him up and we're gonna.
Indeed.
Oh yeah.
Indeed. So now you all have something to think about. The mystery is deepening. This rabbit hole is getting a little deeper out here. But listen, Brandon, I know I wanted to kill it off after 2 weeks, but I'm thinking this rabbit hole, the way it's taken us, we might have to go 3, 4, even 5 weeks.
Yeah.
This might have to continue for some time.
Well,
I can't stop it now. Eric can't stop. Won't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop.
Sounds like a Queen song.
Indeed. So now, thank you all for the comments. Appreciate that. We wanted to make sure we touched on that. Okay, so we got that. I'm going to go into pickups here in a second. Well, actually, let's do the pickups now, and then I can talk about the specific thing I wanted to touch on. But let's start with pickups. I really don't have much right now. A lot of it is just the wrestling stuff that I'm working on, but for the most part, that's still work in progress. But nothing new that I wanted to share in that front otherwise. I did get a card in the mail, but nothing crazy. So I don't know. You guys, Brandon,
I don't
you
know
had some stuff
crazy. I just have two that came in.
Yeah. You want to share first here? I'll zoom in on you.
I've been working on towards like either the black Topps Chrome refractors, or some of them I might have to go with Topps Black, but trying to put together the roster from the 2019 World Series. So I got an Adam Eaton in, and I did go with the auto because it was like $9 and something for an Adam Eaton rookie black refractor auto. And then 2025 Topps, I finally bought a card from the set, but it is not a rookie. It is Ryan Zimmerman, and that image was from his last game. So I thought that was pretty cool. And it's got the 1990 design and the autograph on there. And that was like $20, I think. So, but I thought it was cool with the last game, you know, kind of saying goodbye to the fans and everything. So
nice. And I will say I appreciate Eric, even though it is hurting my soul, because 1990, now you've entered into the realm of when I started collecting. So I'm like, And at least they didn't go to the well with 87 again. And actually 1990 Topps with that adjustment actually looks really nice with the autographs and everything. So
yeah,
the color and everything actually looks, I'll say this is, don't beat it into the ground like you do with everything else, but I will say the 1990 design with some of these reimagines and with the autograph versions of it, a lot of them actually look pretty good.
Well, that's the fun part, because like, you know, the 86, I started around 86. So 86 and 87, you know, I like the 87 design, but we're now getting into the 90s designs. Next year it'll be 91. That was a fun design. I don't think they would do it, but it would be kind of cool if they did a really short printed set, maybe with the Desert Storm. I don't think that they would do it, but I just think it would be good, maybe an homage to it or something. Because that's what that set's really known for, is those Desert Storms. So
yeah, one thing I'll say, just as someone who, so even though, like I said, I started collecting in 1990, 91, Eric, was the first one where I actually got to open a whole box of 91 Topps. So that's one of that has some nostalgia for me. I'll say this though, if you want to get it right, it's not just getting the design. Go check out 91. That was the 40th anniversary of Topps. It was an anniversary edition. But if you want to get it right, the photography on a bunch of those cards is on point.
Really
Go
good.
take a look. Some of the photographs on there were very impressive. I think they did a good job. Some good choices were made. If you're going to try to homage it, get good photos.
What was the player? There's one where there's like a big dust cloud. I can't remember who it was. He's like, I know this card is sideways and he's like sliding into base, but it was like a big dust cloud. That was a really cool photo. I can't remember who the player was though.
Yeah.
For some reason,
I'd have to take a look at him.
I'm thinking he was on the Reds, but I might be wrong.
Now I'll throw this one at you. And actually, I forgot we're going to get into the silly card of the week right after Eric shows his pickups. But I want to show you this one. So this is from 1991 Topps. Benito Santiago had had a fun card in this one, and I remember it very well. So check this one out.
Yep, overhead.
It's kind of an overhead shot of him looking like he's going to catch a fly ball and everything. Again, it's just taking a little bit of extra effort, just a little bit of extra thought into how you did it.
It's a real simple, clean design with just good photos.
Yeah. So just the photographs are what sells it. You got to get the photos right.
The hockey for that year is really good too. So
yeah. So there's an opportunity there if you guys want to use it, if you're going to do it, because obviously that's been the path we keep going forward. 1991 had great photos.
Yep.
Not every card, obviously. Some of them were pretty generic, but a bunch of them were really nice. A bunch of them, they did a really good job with it. That little bit of extra effort is what's going to sell it if you want to go that way. So, Eric, you got any pickups you want to share?
just real quick, I'm not as you guys know, I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I very much remember Benito Santiago, but I've never heard him called Benny before, and it was funny to see that on the card. That is, they had him as Benny.
It's probably similar to Bob Clemente back in the day. They were going for something there.
I was just like, I never heard of him called that. So anyway, I have my desk is full, which is always means I had a fun weekend. I was able to go to a card show, and meet with some former Bruins, Ken Hodge and Jerry Hall of Famer Jerry Cheevers, along with Gilles Meloche, who was a goalie in the league for many, many years. And I got a bunch of autographs from them on stuff. I got this Ken Hodge cup autographed, and I had two of them. And one was kind of faded, and then one was in really good condition. And Ken Hodge and his grandson, who's like 20-something years old, were really kind of taken aback by the cups and just thought it was really cool. And I said, I got two of them. If you like it, you can have this one. So his grandson now has the other cup, and his grandfather already signed it. Obviously he can get his grandfather's signature anytime he wants, but he has the other autograph cup himself. So it was nice to do that. He was really excited about it. And it's funny because Ken turned to him and said, "Look, at one point in time, your grandfather was famous," and was holding the cup and showing his grandson. So they took that home with them. So that was fun. Some of the other things, I'm building this set. This is the Toronto Sunset. I'm trying to get all the ones signed that I can. I have quite a few already. So getting him on that was good. Some of the other pickups. Let me see. I had Jerry Cheevers sign his Coca-Cola rookie card. You notice that on the B, it has somebody colored in half the B with ink. So instead of taking one that was in really good shape, I had him sign this one. I had him sign two of these reprint rookies. I had Ken Hodge sign his reprint rookie. Although I think Friday I showed everybody that I actually have a real Ken Hodge rookie card autographed, and I didn't even know it. I found it Friday, I think, during the show.
Yeah, he looked at the wrong part of the Mary Poppins bag, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was like, I had no idea it was in there. But I also have a Jerry Cheevers actual rookie card signed also. And then this is Gilles Meloche's rookie. It's not really popping. I should have had him done it in silver, but it's in blue Sharpie against the green, so it's kind of hard to see. But I got him to sign his rookie card. I picked up a lot of 68, 69 tops in really good condition at the show. I'm almost complete. That set's almost complete. Picked up this Ray Bourque jersey card for next to nothing. I have this signed. I had Ray sign it last time I saw him, but it's an all-star game patch. So this is kind of like, it goes with that same picture, same card, but this is the jersey. So I got the jersey and the patch one. I had Ray sign the patch one. The next time I see him, I'll have him sign this one. Here's a 61 Bronco Horvath. Bronco was on one of the historic lines when he was with Boston, the Uke line. So I got that at a pretty good price. But last thing, I would show off is I picked this up at work today. We had a collection. We bought a collection, going through it. Very, very, very little hockey. But honest, I just couldn't believe it when we pulled this out. To Eric, Cam Neely on his rookie card.
Rigged.
Now, did you add the two, Eric?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have added a personalization at all. But the thing is, this is an early Cam Neely autograph where he actually spelt out his name and you can make his name out. This is a mid Cam Neely autograph. Still very good, but it doesn't have the detail as this one. And if I don't have one in arm's length, but if you were to have a Cam Neely autograph done today, it's much different and much quicker, and it doesn't have it's not as nice. So not only is it personalized to Eric, it's got a perfect old school Cam Neely auto where he writes out his full name. So I thought that was fantastic. I have met Cam, talked to him for like 5 minutes or something 2 years ago, and he's a super nice guy, but he did not personalize this or sign it that day that we met and talked.
All I'm saying, I have two theories on this. I actually think that Cam Neely was a time traveler. If Eric had kept digging further in, he would have seen a letter written from Cam Neely to Eric where he told him not to besmirch the name of Ted Williams' autograph for reasons that will become apparent. If only Eric had read the words of past Cam Neely in time. That's first.
Right.
Second, what Eric didn't want to say, because Eric does have some subject matter expertise, Brandon, in these kind of things, because when it relates to the Boston Bruins, fictional hockey team doesn't exist. Eric has subject matter expertise, and a lot of people don't know this, but the way you can tell a modern day current Cam Neely autograph is that it looks like a Ted Williams autograph. That's why there are so many out there to this very day.
Yeah. And
some would argue infinite number.
True. And just real quick, let's just pull the curtain back. Let's go to reality for a split second. True or false? Did I not send you guys a picture today proving that yet another Ted Williams autograph came in on a collection today at the shop?
Well, based on this conversation, you showed us a picture of a Cam Neely autograph. But yes, it does seem to say Ted Williams on it.
Yeah, it's like I told you, we buy collections all the time, and we're in New England, so a lot of times those collections have Larry Bird, Bobby Orr, and Ted Williams autographs in them. And today, as soon as I pulled it out of the box, I went, I'm taking a picture and sending this to the guys. Sure enough, there's another Ted Williams in the shop.
Indeed. So there's the pickups for this week. We got that covered. And now it is time for the silly card of the week.
Silly card.
We did kind of have the in between there. I kind of lost track of it, but it's okay. It's okay. We managed. And I have the silly card of the week pictures queued up. Fortunately, we have nothing to worry about because even though we had it in a sequence, the first person would forgive us, Brendan, because he's our neighbor.
He is.
And because he's our neighbor, all is good.
Funny we went with the theme again.
So it appears. So we did. So Fred Rogers here, apparently of the Pittsburgh Penguins from Pro Set Platinum.
Yeah, he was a defenseman.
I already told Eric to tread carefully. Again, you want to talk about Ted Williams and all that, that's your business. You want to start wars in Massachusetts, that's your business. But you show Fred Rogers some goddamn respect, Eric.
Oh, listen, there is nothing in this world that would get me to say a bad thing about this man because his fans become feral. There's no way I'm messing around with this guy. This is the legend, the GOAT of all GOATs. The dad we all wish we had, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers to all of us in this. I think it's 1991 Pro Set.
That should be 91 Pro Set Platinum, yeah.
Pro Set Platinum, where they had like honorary captain cards, and here he is on his bench where he always changed his shoes, supporting the Pittsburgh Penguins. So if you don't vote for Mr. Rogers, and if this isn't a 100%er this week, those who vote against Mr. Rogers there's a special place in hell waiting for you.
Ooh, he's going with the angle, Brandon. I think that's an interesting choice. An interesting choice. Some people would rebel strictly to go against Eric's words on that, but nonetheless. And Brandon, it was a little bit small, but I'll zoom in for a second, Brandon. You do have a copy of that. It's a very fancy
Yeah.
copy.
Yeah, I've had it for a while. The Fred Rogers rookie, the Mr. Rogers rookie, and got it graded 9.5. So yeah, I actually have the card.
Indeed, indeed. So that is Eric's contribution to it. So let's move on here to number 2.
Larry
The
Johnson.
movie line. You know, I feel that we don't show basketball much respect in the card space here. And I was thinking back, you know, if you were gonna, we were just reminiscing about the early 90s and everything. And if you liked basketball and you were around in the early 90s, there wasn't much more that stood out to you. I mean, yeah, you had Shaq, and I was a huge Shaq fan, obviously, in 92. But the Charlotte Hornets, everybody had the Charlotte Hornets starter jackets and,
Yeah.
you know, that teal color and everything. It just
Yeah.
popped. They were big. And then you had none other than Grandmama.
Mm.
There was nothing bigger than Grandmama.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, you know what? Let's show some respect to the one and only Grandmama.
Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning, and Muggsy Bogues.
Don't forget Steph Curry's dad.
Yeah, it's true.
Del Curry.
Del, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they had a pretty good starting lineup. And
didn't they get Lade? They got Lade Divac from the Lakers in exchange for one Kobe Bryant, who happened to have been drafted by the Charlotte Hornets.
Right.
Yeah, so big connection there as well.
That is true. And Kevin McHale's last game with the Celtics was in the playoffs, where a Alonzo Mourning buzzer beater knocked the Celtics out of the playoffs. And that was Kevin McHale's last game.
Mm.
So
all the connections.
I know I know all too well about the Charlotte Hornets at that time, because we knew Kevin McHale was going to retire, and we obviously wanted the Celtics to keep playing, and we wanted McHale to keep playing. And last minute, Lonzo Mourning hits one from around the foul line, if I remember right, and game over. McHale's career is over, you know. So I do remember those Hornets.
See, Brandon, it all intersects. It's almost everything is O-Pee-Chee. It really is. Yeah. And also, kind of a little side note for the first 2 cards, you'll notice there was a mini shoe theme. You had Fred Rogers there being a neighbor, and also he was laying back, but you could actually see his shoes. The question is, are they comfortable shoes? And here we've got Converse in the corner with the front row cards. So now the last one, alas, based on that, like just based on that, this last card, guys, I just got to be honest. This last card is just a straightforward card. I just wanted to show appreciation for some O-Pee-Chee level photography here. I just wanted to showcase some O-Pee-Chee photography. Mike Krushelnyski with a Los Angeles Kings normal jersey. You remember this one, Eric? You remember this jersey? It was famous jersey. Yeah. Everybody loved this jersey.
Yep. Former Bruin Mike Krushelnyski.
Now, I have heard rumors, and again, I cannot substantiate this. I have heard that this card may have some light airbrushing.
Light, very light.
Light airbrushing. Just a touch, Brandon. Just if you're very observant, you may be able to catch it. A little bit.
Mm-hmm. So I think he was coming from Edmonton was he part of the Gretzky trade? He may have been. So that's why he's airbrushed, because I think that was an Edmonton jersey. Because he went from Boston to Edmonton to LA, I believe. So yeah, that's just horrible.
Now, my favorite part about this, Brandon, is that because the airbrushing was so heavy on this card, you could see like literally like these brush strokes, basically almost like they tried to create texture.
It looks like it goes up off his elbow.
Yeah, like it keeps going. The point is like there's a lot going on here. But you know what it reminds me of, Eric? Do you think Mike Krushelnyski could sing "Take on Me"?
No.
because the brush strokes actually
Yeah,
look a little bit like, go watch the music video and like
yeah.
some of the brush strokes going on there. Do you think he could sing "Take on Me"?
I think that he would fit in perfectly in that video.
I'm just
And
saying.
that I mean, I haven't thought about that video in 45 years or some ridiculous thing, and you just brought it back. That's something else.
See, and that's why I host the show, Brandon. See, people were not ready. The people were not ready to get Mike Krushelniski into "Take on Me."
Oh my god. If anyone
Boom.
is younger that's watching this, which I doubt there is anyway, but if there's a younger person watching this, they don't get how funny that actually was.
Google it, kids. Google it. And that is the silly card of the week. A community post will be made. Vote early, vote often. Every vote is counted. The only true democracy in this world.
You vote against Fred Rogers, special place in hell for you.
Take on me. Let's go. That's all I'm saying. It's going to be tough. I don't know, Eric. I think that's a harder competition than you might think. You got Grandmama, you got Take on Me and Fred Rogers. Brandon, I feel that's a legit battle of the Titans.
That's a good one this week.
I think we got there. All right, so let me touch on a couple of things. First of all, I want to say kind of a congratulations and also touch on in a topic that I wanted to talk about. So first, congratulations to 4 collectors. They've been kind of expanding their network. Not only do they have 4, 5, 57 collectors, allegedly, the roster is growing daily. We don't even know. Ham might be part of it. I alluded to that in the chat of that video we were talking about a little earlier before we hit record. So I'm just saying, I have questions. But regardless of how many collectors there in fact are,
that show is going to go downhill fast if Ham's involved.
I don't even know, man. But regardless of how many collectors are in fact in the 4 collectors, they use the number 4. So regardless, 4 life. So they got the 4 collectors. They have added Hobby Hotline. I will leave a link in the description to the announcement video where they're talking about it. And some of the Hobby Hotline folks also recorded videos for it. Although I will say, and I saw Victor's piece of it included in there. Again, I'll leave a link in the description. You can see it for yourself. I feel like they were all doing it with hostage lights. If those lights were any brighter, like I think it might have been the way they recorded it, but like, was Victor were you being held against your will? Was there like a light directly in front of your face when you were doing it? It's like, we are going to 4 collectors and you're going to say good words, all the good words. But anyway, so link in description to that. But the reason so in and of itself, congratulations to them. They're adding something else. But I did have a question coming off of that. And I don't have the answer to that question, so I'm going to lead by saying I am going to inquire. I have a few curiosities about this, but I wanted to throw this out for you guys, something to chew on. What's interesting to me about that is from the 4 collector standpoint, I get it. And then from the Hobby Hotline standpoint, I think they just were looking for a home to land on that it would allow them to continue to expand what they're doing. And maybe some of the 4 collectors will participate in it as well. Again, all questions that can be asked, all questions that we will get answers to in the coming weeks and months. But what I thought was interesting, the reason why it led me down thinking a little bit when I saw that announcement, and it's only a couple hours ago at the time we're recording, is that was the last thing that, as far as I can tell, was actually regular content on the Bench Clear Media YouTube channel, which I thought was very interesting because Bench Clear, if any of you remember, especially during pandemic period and everything, there was a lot of stuff that was on there. Bench Clear Media is, a spin-off of Bench Clear Media is what eventually led to Chasing Cardboard. Obviously, that's what's going on with Ty Wilson, and he's got his Ty Wilson channel, Chasing Cardboard. Mike Baseball Collector was involved in that. Golden Age of Cardboard started in Bench Clear Media, and Mike initially, when it was first getting going, did videos exclusively for them for a little while, and then went back to his Baseball Collector channel. But Golden Age of Cardboard started on Bench Clear Media, and now Mike continues it in the Baseball Collector channel, and it's doing well, and it's continuing forward. Mike's hit 10,000 subscribers himself, so all good there. But Bench Clear Media has 17,000 subscribers, and there is literally no content being produced for it anymore in any way, shape, or form. The last video on it was 10 months ago, at least 10 months ago, and the only live streams on it were all Hobby Hotline. Episode 348 of Hobby Hotline in the beginning of July was the last thing that was on there, and now, again, we don't know if that means it's going to be exclusively on their own YouTube channel and 4 collectors. I will inquire. I can ask that question. But if it's not, if that's it, then Bench Clear Media with 17,000 subscribers sits there with no additional videos being produced because nobody else is producing anything for it, which I just thought was interesting given how it had gotten to a certain size and grown. And it's just kind of sitting there. So Brandon, Bubbles and Ball Cards, when are you taking over Bench Clear Media?
I think 540 Flips has inquired about it.
Mm.
There was a rumor of that,
Mm.
and they were going to run subsidy channels because that the 540 Flips channel does all types of content all the time. So yeah,
Bench Clear Flips. Bench Clear Flips Media.
yeah, yeah, just a
Amazing.
merge.
Sensational. Or Sanderson or Clear Media.
No.
Just
Oh,
look.
It would probably
Apparently,
be like hazy. It would have to be hazy media. We'd have
it
to take
might
the
be up for
clear
grabs,
off.
man. My point is, it might be up for grabs. I'm just saying. I got questions now. Coming off of this, I got some questions because like I said, regardless, they can do whatever they want with the channel. Obviously, they've got it, and they can do whatever they want. It's just interesting to me as someone who watched that channel initially build up and grow and get it to a certain point and everything. Obviously, it had been sitting there, but it effectively had been Hobby Hotline's branch that allowed them to get some additional viewership on it. Eyeball again, it has 17,000 subscribers.
Well,
So if you're subscribed to it, you were getting all the Hobby Hotline stuff through there.
the topic we touched on last week, that channel is a perfect example. We touched on how just because a channel has so many subscribers,
Yep.
not all of them tune in, they fall off, maybe they don't watch even YouTube anymore. And you're just saying that channel has 17,000 subs. Well, obviously they're not getting 17,000 views on Hobby Hotline. I would dare to guess that it's probably not even a fraction of 17,000.
Yeah. Well, the last one, so the last one on there, the last Hobby Hotline was like 300 views or thereabouts. But we had talked about that during the live. So I get your point, but I'll just throw this out at you. Sometimes, though, it's a chicken or the egg situation. Yes, there are dead subs and everything. But when you have that much, when in that point, we're talking about like 99.999% dead subs.
Right.
I don't think necessarily it's quite, because that would be extreme. Like that would be like the ultimate, especially since they started off as a sports card channel. So it's not like you started with one completely different topic and suddenly pivoted. I think that there is an audience for some, even with the dead subs. I think there is more of an audience there, but it's just the audience that wanted to see Hobby Hotline watch those episodes, but there was also nothing else being produced. That's why I said Hobby Hotline, the last episode that was shown on this channel was the beginning of July.
Right.
So that's recent.
Well,
at least they have been producing some, but that's been it. That's been all that's been on the channel. There has been no videos, no shorts, nothing else. Just Hobby Hotline for like 9 months.
Right. And my point was, though, it's not a clear-cut picture like it was being presented by some folks of, oh, well, this channel's got all these subs, but they're not getting the views. You can't necessarily look at a channel, especially a channel that isn't focused on just one type of content, and say, oh, yeah, it's dying because 17,000 subs, but they're only getting 300 views. It's just not the case. I understand it completely what you're saying.
Yeah.
Some might have been there for Mike's show or, another show that was on there, and then some might have been. So the audience was a mixture. And that happens with a lot of channels. You'll pick up some people that like one thing you do, but they may not like something else you do. So I just thought that was a good point, because that's a pretty substantial number, especially in the card space, 17,000. But knowing that it's not apples to oranges, looking at it and saying, well, only 300 people watch, card content is dying. It's not as clear there.
For sure. I just think the reason why it fascinates me is that you have a channel that had built up an audience to a certain point, but then you stop producing anything for it. The golden age of cardboard thing, like I said, Mike is doing it on his own channel, which is perfectly fine. It's his podcast. He can do whatever he wants with it. And again, it does fine on his channel, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Chasing Cardboard was kind of a spin-off, but Ty Wilson isn't doing anything with it either. So they're not making the last video on there. Last video was Mike Baseball Collector doing a video with John Keating, and that had 1,300 views, which is perfectly good. It's perfectly respectable. Nothing wrong with that. But again, that was more than 10 months ago. They literally haven't there's been 0 videos since of any kind from anybody. So they've kind of just let it sit by the wayside. So I'm not surprised that the viewership doesn't carry over, because you're not making videos. You're literally not making videos. And if you're not interested in Hobby Hotline, well, then there's nothing for you to watch going on the better part of a year. Well, then probably you're not going to tune in. But even with that said, it's interesting because eventually, so over time, you slowly took away all the things that they had. Because remember, also, kind of history lesson for folks that may not be aware, Hobby Paloozas started on Bench Clear. The first couple of Hobby Paloozas were on Bench Clear. And obviously, 4 Collectors took that over. And now for collectors, again, potentially, I'll confirm and find out if it's going to be there and in terms of the Hobby Hotline channel specifically. But if it's no longer on Bench Clear, then for collectors takes that over too. Okay. And then, like I said, Golden Age of Cardboard, that's no longer on there. Nothing relating to chasing cardboard is on there. Even promo stuff, nothing. Ty Wilson isn't doing any videos related to it. I can just go through the playlist of what they had on there. All this stuff is gone. You know, Hobbypalooza 22 and 21, that was all stuff. There was a show called The Poll back in the day. That's gone. The videos about analysis, podcast videos, all that stuff was all gone. There were different live shows they had on there. They got what playlists for all this stuff. But that's back in the day. That channel had 944 videos. So it's not like they didn't produce any content for it. They actually produced quite a bit. But it's gone from that to 0 videos in over 10 months. And the live streams, the only live streams they had were Hobby Hotline. So it's just interesting. Again, I'm not giving you any conclusion. I will ask the question because I am curious now. But it is kind of interesting just to see the channel effectively, if the Hobby Hotline will no longer be on there, effectively become abandoned. 17,000 subscribers, and it's just kind of an abandoned. It's a ship that's floating. It's a ghost ship that's floating through the YouTube oceans.
Taking up
Kind of Yep, it just kind of exists at this point. So that was one question I have. And again, I don't have a definitive answer because I've got to ask some more questions. And again, we just heard the announcement today only. But a second question related to that, obviously, Hobby Hotline being on for collectors, again, good for them, makes a lot of sense. But then there's a bunch of folks on Hobby Hotline that are also related to what the sports collectibles on Sports Illustrated, the SI, is happening. Like Danny Black is obviously the editor over there, and he was involved with Hobby Hotline. Will he be involved in the future? Again, a question that I'd have to pose and ask. Also, the SI thing for sports collectibles on SI or whatever, they're getting their hands into, they had their hands into that. Some of the hosts there also involved in that. And on the other side of the equation, Sports Card Nonsense is building up a network, a podcast network with different shows and stuff. So Sports Illustrated, the SI thing with Danny Black is participating with that too. So there's like some commingling. So at the same time, the Bench Clear is just kind of like quietly stepped aside, it would seem, at least in the moment. These other networks are now starting to build themselves up. It's just kind of interesting, these shifting tides here. So just some questions. Just some things that I was thinking about as I was watching. I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So that announcement then led me down to checking on the channel, finding that, and I go, oh, that's interesting, because there may be some more movement with it related to it. I'd be curious now what the status of Bench Clear Media is. So that one, I'll reach out and ask some questions. Maybe nothing. Maybe the answer is exact as I said. Maybe it just kind of sits there. Whatever was on there is still archived. You can watch it whenever you like. Otherwise, yep, it was a period of time when that was being worked on, and now everybody else has moved on to other projects, which could very well be the case.
Yeah, I mean, and do what they wish, of course. Whether it's dead subscribers or not, having a channel sitting there with 17,000 subscribers in this, in this hobby is that's just insane amount of numbers. Like, I almost don't want that many. I know it'd be good for us in some ways, but it's like I don't want to entertain 17,000 people. I mean, we're lucky that we have 5,000, and we know that a lot of those came from your movie critique days. So we know that the number's not really 5,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm comfortable with that.
Are you sure though, Eric? Because I'm pretty sure Mike might still be involved, and if so, I might be able to offer him $150. And if I can get Bench Clear for $150, all I'm thinking is, Eric, The Friends Weekly with Sanderson Orr. Oh my God, Brandon, we will get it.
Random segments, like random
Amazing
shows, just the most random, stupid stuff. I bet it would be a hit.
I'll do my own thing about that I did it for a few weeks on this show to start the show off. What was I saying? What really
burns my ass?
Well, you've got a lot of concussions, so I don't know. Do you know what you're saying?
I could just do a quick 30-second segment. What really burns my ass? And then
But Brandon, I could let him do that and then dub it over, and all it is V Friends.
Yeah.
All I gotta say is 172,000 subscribers. Brandon, we could 10x this shit.
I'll badmouth V friends anytime you want.
No, but that's the best part, Eric. You can say anything you want. I'll just dub it over, and no matter what, it'll be like the Godzilla movies. You'll be talking. Oh no, it's Godzilla. Except it'll be you're talking. V Friends is the best.
You could read the
Gary
book.
V's my goat.
Yeah.
No matter what you're saying, that's what's going to come out on the other side. 172,000 subscribers, Eric. Brandon, I smell empire.
But I mean, best of luck to everyone involved in that, doing what they're doing and going whatever direction they want to go in. We say that all the time. Do what you know, that brings you joy and, you know, brings fun to the hobby for you. So, but to have a channel with 17,000 subscribers, that's just insane to me for hobby content. I mean, that's a big number to walk away from.
Well, also, I would note, like I said, for me, just so we're clear on this, again, my fun aside, just so we're all on the same page here, my fascination with it is that was the last thing. As soon as I went and looked at it, it was like, yeah, that was the last thing that was being produced consistently. That was the only thing that was on there weekly. So they had built that subscriber base on the back of stuff where the channel had basically been dormant for almost a year. Like, for the most part, it had been just dead quiet. So I would suspect, if I check the Social Blade numbers, I would suspect probably their subscribers had been stalled out at around this number for a while, probably going back the better part. So to say that you already have that baseline, it's just interesting that the thought wouldn't. Again, Mike already has his own channel. He's got stuff that he can do. Anything he wants to do, he can do on his own channel. Ty has Ty Wilson channel and also Chasing Cardboard channel. Chasing Cardboard channel is very high production. There's a lot going on with that. So, and again, he runs a store and they do all that stuff, and that's fine. So they've got other stuff working on. It doesn't surprise me that maybe they don't have the time or the inclination or the interest to work on that. They've got other stuff doing it. It's just kind of interesting that, it just kind of sits there. It's just, that is interesting to me as someone who watched the rise of it originally. That's all I'm getting at.
Like when the Beatles broke up, man, and then they all went their separate ways and were successful in their own way. So good for them.
Okay, so something to keep an eye on. Again, I will make inquiries because now I'm interested, because again, for a nominal fee, Brandon, I may just inherit the empire.
17th. I don't want 17,000 people. I don't want that.
I get Eric. All I'm saying, like I said, V Friends Weekly with Sanderson Orr. I love it.
No, I don't like.
I think we got to go daily, or maybe
now.
hourly.
Daily, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Brandon, I'm loving this. I'm loving it right now.
No.
Loving it big time.
No.
Bigly.
No.
Love it.
No.
So that's a possibility. I'll kick that one around.
Could we do some of the AI created videos and have Sasquatch
I think that'd be required
on his bike through the woods?
I think that'd be required. Look, Brandon, all I want is for V Friends Weekly with Sanderson Orr to be sponsored by Hellman's Mayo.
Yeah.
I want this.
Could you imagine the entertainment value of an AI Sasquatch chasing Eric through the woods on his bicycle?
I love those Sasquatch videos, man.
See, he knows what I'm talking about.
They're historical.
And all we got to do is get a video of Eric riding his bicycle if he could stay on it.
So what I'm hearing, Brandon, is not 172,000 subscribers. What I'm hearing is 17.2 million subscribers.
Probably, because them videos get a lot of views.
I'm just saying. Eric, you think this was madness? 17.2 million subscribers. We're coming after PewDiePie.
All you gotta do is ride your bike and fall off.
Yeah, and I get to ride my bike. So
just be you.
That's all I'm saying. All right. So anyway, good luck to everybody involved. Good luck to 4 collectors again. We'll see how Hobby Hotline comes in. They're going to start it in September. I'll leave a link in the description to the announcement. You see how much mileage I got out of an announcement video, Brandon, where we really don't have answers? I just pose questions.
Yeah, but people think we actually know what we're going to talk about.
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. We just make shit up as we go along. That's really all that happens.
It works.
Sure, it does.
It happens. This works out. So, other things. Speaking of the content, one of my favorite things. Praise the content gods. I did try out. So yesterday, I uploaded onto the channel. Sunday from the time we're recording now. I did try out. I'm going to do a couple of videos. The vintage rummage. And what was funny about it is so I'll just tell you all, it was kind of a curiosity, it was an experiment. And also, honestly, I did in fact have that box and I was sitting there. Those cards, in fact, have been sitting in that box for the better part of a decade, virtually untouched. And I was just sitting there going like, well, they're sitting in the box anyway. I bet I could just make a video where I'm just going to rummage through it. I'll go the different sets. They're like a bunch. They were in numerical order, so I already had them sorted. So I was like, well, I'm not going to do anything with these right now, and I'm not probably not going to build these sets. However, let's go through it and see what we got. So I started with the first episode, 1971 tops, and I'll say, Eric, a day and 2 hours, and it's got almost 240 views as we speak.
Nice. Is
And
that seven? You said 77,
1971 tops baseball.
baseball. All right.
Tell it to the people, man. Tell it to the people. Well, listen, Eric, if I had done 1971 Tops Hockey, I would have gotten at least 2.3 viewers.
I would have been one of them.
Yeah. Well, you probably would have been 1.39 of those viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, almost 240 views on that. Just going through it. I did have some stars. I got some Hall of Famers in there. I had a couple of high numbers. Like I had forgotten the stuff I had on there. It was actually all it was back when I had the idea of doing the complete run of Tops and Bowman. So my thought was, I'm going to work on my projects that I'm working on, the main sets that I'm focusing on. But if opportunities came to grab small group lots and everything, I would grab them. You know, sometimes you could get 70s was very easy because you could get 70s lots where somebody goes like 200, 1970s cars, like 80 from 1974, 20 from 1973, so on and so forth and whatever. And I would grab a bunch of those and here's 20 cards for this, 15 cards for that, 100 cards for that. By the time I was done, I had 100 of the 71 tops. So that's what I went through. But I've got a bunch of other. So right now, Brandon, I've got a 6-part series already built in. I did 71 tops. Now I got 68 tops, 66, because all of these I have decent starter sets for. That's why they're in the box. 61 tops, 59 tops, and 58. So I've got nice stacks of all of those. So it looks like people enjoyed the first video. So I'll go with it. Short intro and then just go into it. Basically, all it is, by the way, it goes back to what I was saying though, Eric. It's kind of an experiment, but also kind of making a point that I've made previously. The video, just so we're all on the same page, is me recording an intro that was about 2 or 3 minutes long and very straightforward. I didn't really need to do a lot of editing for it. And the video of me going through it is, Eric, I'm literally going through and shuffling through the cards, so sifting through them, and I'll stop for some of the cards for some of the Hall of Famers or star players or whatever. But it's a 9-minute video in total.
Sure, I'll check it out.
But some people just want to see the cards. It goes opposite to a lot of the stuff that I do and a lot of the content. It's like, no, in that case, if you want to see cards, that's all I did for the most part. Is I just sorted through the cards.
And for like 9 minutes or so, that's good. I don't want to watch 4 hours of that. But like just say if you discovered a box of vintage 70, 71 OPG and you're like, oh my God, I haven't opened this up in 5 years. Let's see what's in here. I'd watch that for 10 minutes.
And I think that's about the right. And I think with the amount of cards I have for those, they're all going to be about, I think it's going to be somewhere in that range.
Yeah.
Because I think even the ones I've got a decent amount of, it's not much more.
After that, I'd start losing interest, but you may have me for 8 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I figured. I just thought it was interesting kind of experiment, Brandon, just to see like, no, this video is like it's literally going to be me just going through these cards. Like I'm going one through another. I'll pause briefly on a couple, but for the most part, it's just me going, you want to see the cards? Just pause. I'll go through them slow enough that you can still see it, but I'm also going to sift through most of them. I'm not going to spend time staring at each one of them. But again, if you want to check them out, and some of them are beat up. I had Hank Aaron in there. I had Pete Rose. I had Reggie Jackson in the 71. So
you may end up getting, DMs and stuff with people, saying, hey, is this for sale? You might end up making some money somehow.
Oh, they're going to have, right now, there's nothing. That was part of the thought process with it, Brandon, is that I don't have anything I can do with it now because I'm not going to do the set. Some of those sets are too large. Like if you've ever seen the 71 top set, I think is 752 cards. So it's a larger set. High numbers are a little bit tougher. It's got the black borders, so condition sensitivity. And honestly, the ones that I was getting for the most part were really beat up cards, really beat up copies. Some of them were okay. Like the Rod Carew I thought was pretty good. A couple of Steve Carlton was decent. But again, it's just me going, because I hadn't opened the box in such long, I forgot what I have. I know though, I think for like 68 tops and 66 tops, I think I've got a decent amount of stars in those ones because I had built up those starter sets over time back then. So, but yeah, I'm probably never going to do the set, but there you go. So there'll be a series. I'll figure out which one will be episode 2 based on the feedback I'm getting from episode 1. People are at least interested in it. So I've at least got 5 more episodes for it. That'll one per week. I'll put those on Sundays and there you go. That'll take me into September. See, praise the content gods, Eric. Nice
Yeah.
and easy.
Oh,
Crazy
I
content cuts.
said, I mean, I don't want to repeat myself 10 times, but yeah, I find stuff that interesting if you're showing off, you know, the cards, they're you can see them clearly because I want to look at them, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not, you know, if the camera angle's right, the light is right, um, you know, you're going slow enough for me to see them. You know, there's a discussion on a couple of them here and there, um, and it doesn't take up more than 8 to 10 minutes of my time. I'd be interested in something like that.
Yeah. Now imagine Brandon, if I had that as part of a double header every week on Sundays as part of Because I'm Bench Clear Media.
Ooh.
Think
Because
about it.
media.
Think about it.
There you
Hey,
go.
listen, Brad. Like I said, a $1.50. To whom it may concern, I got a solid $1.50 with your name on it. You're not doing anything with it. I might
Because
just
the
take it
bench
over.
is cleared.
That's just saying. Right now, the bench has been there for a while. It needs a new paint job. It needs possible part of it needs to be replaced. I'm just throwing it out there. It could be fun. See, I'm working on my media empire, Eric. The dream lives. The dream lives. All right, so we got that. So covered that. There was one more thing. I think Brandon, you were mentioning earlier that kind of, I guess it was just kind of recycled marketing content a little bit. Fanatics is kind of going back to the well on a couple of things, and you had
Yeah.
a couple of thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, like we say on here, sometimes the news is dry, and you
Mhm.
know they grasp for straws sometimes to promote things. It's the Fanatics Collect is what I'm mostly noticing it on the Facebook page. With the Eric said that he's seen the post, I think on Instagram.
Yeah.
Um, but the one that really stood out to me was the post about collector finds Michael Jordan rookie out of 30-year-old Fleer pack that he paid $600 for or whatever. And it's literally the article about LA Beast, which is a very old video. Like it's 6 years ago, probably approaching 7 if I had to guess. That video's got 3.1 or 3.2 million views or something like that on it. And I just thought it was weird. Like, that's not the first post I've seen of them doing stuff that's like old. So I don't know exactly the route they're taking with this. If it's just okay, well, this is something, to get a post out. There's not much else going on right now, so we're going deep in the well, or like what the strategy is with that. But I did find it a bit odd, especially on something that old. If it was last year or something like that, all right, whatever. But I mean, this was a long time ago. So
Yeah, I think right now, like I'm just looking at the main Fanatics Instagram page as an example, and like I'd have to take a closer look at some of these just to see what the age is. But I do feel like they're trying to hit on everything right now, like literally trying to hit on everything. Like I'll quickly just share the page just so you guys can see. I won't fixate too much on too many specific ones, but this is just on their Instagram page. I'll start up here at the top. But you can see there, we're going all over the place. We got a Jerry Rice thing there with a football player. We've got a couple different events. We've got interviews. There, some of these clips are like so, like that right here, third from this one here. This one is actually Jey Uso of WWE, but that's part of an interview series with Stephanie McMahon that Fanatics has kind of co-produces or whatever. So literally, they've got WWE podcasts that are kind of Fanatics own, finance sponsored, however you want, and it's literally them producing content for YouTube, for social media, for a lot of those things to basically try to create that. But now you look, you've got QB players here answering silly questions, social media fodder. You've got all these different posts of them. Otani bat is broken, belongs in a museum. Founding father spotted Eagles game. Here's Tyrese Halliburton, but here's with Logan Paul. Like you're basically trying to intermingle sports celebrity with social media influencers, with just here's the Kevin Costner for Fanatics Fest. So you're trying to combine all these different aspects of it. And a lot of it makes sense. Like Fanatics Fest stuff, like it's Fanatics Fest. Of course you're going to use clips from that. And you got a ton. But again, you're incorporating sports athletes as well. You're incorporating interviews, you're incorporating clips and all these kinds of things. It's all part of it. You just keep going. Here's Cody Rhodes as one of the. This is actually a different podcast, and in this podcast, Cody Rhodes does his, but it's also Fanatics. So Powered by Fanatics is a whole series. Speaking of podcast networks, I talked earlier today about the Sports Card Nonsense and them doing their own podcast network. I talked about, Collectibles by Sports Illustrated kind of being their own thing, but also intermingling with it. Well, here's Fanatics intermingling with all this other stuff. Yes, they've got the license to WWE, but they're also licensing out podcast content. All these things are under the umbrella. So it's WWE and Fanatics, and then all these other celebrities and sports leagues and everything else all combined. And I'm just scrolling through. You can see all this stuff here. Go back and forth, one thing after another, because their hands are everywhere, and they're in every category. Here's Jelly Roll, just in case you need your Jelly Roll fix.
Well, he has. I noticed that they gave him a WWE card.
Yep. So like it is what it is, but it's all over the place. Like it's everything. Add as much stuff into it as you want, but now you can just imagine. Now expand that out, right? And that was only the Fanatics Instagram. That's the only thing I went into. I didn't go into Fanatics Collect. I didn't go into some of the other social medias they've got in there. They've got a ton.
Yeah, it was the Collect one that I've been seeing a lot of the old content being posted, but
yeah, I just wanted to use it as an example though, because to me, like that's just one case. And again, you can go into some of these other ones. Oh, Eric, the $4 million one of one Wu-Tang album. No one can hear until 2103. Think about it. That's all I'm saying. Live the dream, buddy. I like it.
Can you name the Wu-Tang members?
There's too many of them. It's like
more
collectors. It's like
I was about to ask: are there more Wu-Tang members, NWO members, or collectors?
It's a tough call. That's a tough call. It's a good comparison with the Wolf Pack and the NWO. Yeah, that's good.
Listen, if you had paid attention, I could be mistaken here, but let me make sure I get this right. Okay, perfect. Eric, if you've been paying attention to the AMG podcast and Blair's journey into exploring different aspects of his musicality, then you would appreciate You God. I've had so much fun. He was a member of the Wu-Tang Clan. You got Eric.
Wasn't. I think I might have been a short time in the 90s. I'm not sure.
A very, very short time when they rolled through Massachusetts.
They were huge in the 90s.
Just, Wu-Tang right there.
And I see, since we're on the topic,
that was probably a gang symbol. You're probably going to get shot by somebody.
Oh, that's the Wu-Tang symbol.
Yeah.
That's Wu-Tang.
And Bone Thugs released a new song and went on tour.
It's all come together.
He's all over again.
And Harmony.
Yep, and Harmony was there. Yep.
It's all peachy, and it's all the 90s now. Man, it's crazy. I don't have a smooth segue out of that, so I'm just gonna move on. I can't even pretend I have one.
No.
So covered that, got that in there. I already asked the question related to that. I'm trying to think. There was one more thing. We did the social media thing.
Well, I mentioned something about the marketing aspect of how they're approaching it, and I understand, Michael Rubin, he's obviously very wealthy and successful off of what the moves he's made amongst many different pieces. And I get the use of the athlete to connect them with the collector. However, there's pieces to it that is just like it feels unnatural, if that makes any sense. I think there are some players that do have a vested interest. I've seen some of the minor league ball players in my local card shop, because the ballpark's just a couple miles away from the shop. A couple of the minor league guys will come in and open packs and stuff. But it almost feels like it's, and the one, we talked about this before recording, the one that stood out to me was Oral Hershiser. Now, of all players, Oral was big. Again, let's throw back to the 80s and 90s. He was big back then. But I would never expect to see this big post and Oral Hershiser wanting his, of all cards, a 2025 Topps Chrome Superfractor. That just felt a bit off. Where was he at in 2019 when there were Superfractors, And now we're seeing more and more of it with the athletes saying, oh, I want this card, or, Harper wanting to build his collection, and, I get the side of it. It's helping Fanatics. It's helping, you know, use of the athlete, again, like I said, to connect to the consumer or potentially connect to the consumer. But I also feel that on the back end of it, it's propping the prices up more and more. And we've talked about the costs of the products and everything now, but if you have people that are chasing stuff now with this hope and dream of then being able to have this experience with the athlete and everything, you're just, I mean, it's just propping it up more. And I use an example of something, you know, that I read that wasn't even connected with Fanatics, but it said recently a Kobe Bryant flawless logo man auto, and I don't know. I'm gonna guess it's one of the last ones that were done. I don't know what year it was from, but anyway, it sold for $2.3 million.
Hmm.
It's the most expensive Kobe card ever sold. And then in the article, it goes down to some other things of Kobe's that have sold. And it said that his first pair of shoes signed, so first ever game worn pair of shoes autographed by Kobe Bryant, they sold for like 240,000. So a tenth of what a random logo patch, and we all know Panini's not very good at actually putting the correct player or game used or whatever on the product. So almost 2.4 million for a card with a patch and an autograph on it versus a tenth of that for his first ever game worn pair of shoes. And now we're seeing a lot of these athletes, and the thing is well, give me the card, I'll give you some memorabilia. Well, that's kind of looking imbalanced here outside of the experience and the story you have. But I mean, hell, I've got stories of players that I collect that I've met without needing to give them any cards or anything. So it's not just, and I get it, again, it's the marketing side of it, but and maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but like when I hear Bryce Harper's winning cards, if Bryce Harper gets some of his bigger cards, Bryce Harper is a very wealthy man. Like his contract is $300+ million plus whatever he gets from Under Armour and everybody else, right? Why would those cards ever hit the market again? And, I know we look at collectors as being vintage, and it's not so much looked at as ultra modern or modern stuff, but there are people, myself, that actually enjoy collecting ultra modern players or modern guys. And to think in the future, like if little Timmy today decides he wants to get back in the hobby later on down the road and he wants to collect Bryce Harper or whoever, there's a very good chance that he will never be able to obtain at no cost, at whatever cost, some of those important pieces of these players. So, you know, yeah, it's cool that, you know, fans are getting to have some sort of interaction with the players, but I really feel it's just down to the marketing aspect of it. And I do question the impact in the future. So it's just something that's been on my mind. And maybe I'm overthinking it, maybe I'm thinking too far ahead, but it's just something I have been thinking about.
Hmm. Now, I think there were two folds because in the course of you explaining that, it reminded me what the other thing was. So I'll quickly touch on what you're talking about, but then also roll it into that other thought that we had a little earlier before we hit record. And that was that the experience thing where these people are getting these items and then presumably wanting them now as opposed to before where maybe they didn't even care or didn't think about it at the time, it creates this weird disconnect with the relative value of the item. To your point, it may never
Yeah.
come back on the marketplace and all that. And that's what kind of led me to kind of bringing in the question of something that we talked about in the past and we talked about on the Discord. Uh, a lot of the football guys. So I want to touch on the marketing piece, elevating the theoretical price, but it's only theoretically one time. And use the analogy, and use this to bring us into football. The Jaden Daniels, the $500,000 card, where the Commanders owner got it. Well, to the Commanders owner, $500,000 is a rounding error. It's not a big deal. Like it really, in the grand scheme of things, it's whatever. But and in reality, the card's not worth that, except the one time in the one place in the one location where you can have a social media thing related to it. The fact that it was at Fanatics Fest in that moment and allowed them to create a moment that then they could monetize and capitalize on is what made it worthwhile.
Mhm.
You try to sell that same card, even if the Commander's owner wants it. You try to sell that card 2 weeks later randomly by walking into his office, he offers you a fraction of that. Assuming, again, he even wants it. But for that moment, that place and time, it actually created, technically, it was, Brandon and I were talking about this before we hit record, technically it was worth that. On that day, in that place, in that moment, try it again next week and you'll get a different answer. And that was kind of the key to that. When it comes to a lot of those items, though, he was also talking, Brandon was talking about that Kobe Bryant, the game used shoes versus this logo man and everything. And the question isn't what's the more valuable item. The question isn't what should be the more valuable item. The question is, what are people willing to pay more for? That's the question. Because even supply doesn't matter as much as demand, and also how much is someone willing to pay for it. Bring it over to the football in the Discord. One of the great conversations that Paul has all the time. He always makes the argument, but it's always kind of a funny argument coming from him because on the one hand, he'll make the argument. On the other hand, he likes to be as cheap as possible and get things as cheap as possible. So it's like, it's counterproductive, but whatever.
Mhm.
It's always looking at and comparing the old time football players to going like, so-and-so, Otto Graham. I'm just using him as an example. But Otto Graham is only selling for X, where, Joe Burrow sells for Y. That's silly or whatever. And fair enough. But the point is, someone is willing to pay Y for Joe Burrow today. They're not willing to pay Y for Otto Graham. It doesn't matter who was the better player. So that's the first thing. It doesn't actually matter. Assuming we can even compare eras, which we can't. Football is complex that way. It's had these different waves of changes and rules and everything. But forget about the players for a second. If you want Otto Graham to be worth that much, then you better be willing to pay that much for Otto Graham. It doesn't matter whether, so it might be $1,000. Well, then you better be willing to pay $40,000, $50,000, even though nobody else is willing to right now. To win an auction, you don't need to pay that much. But the only way it gets to that price point is if someone's willing to do it, even though they don't have to, even though there's no reason to do it. And the fact that no one else is willing to go there with you, that is the value of the item. That is the marketplace for the item. You can argue until you're blue in the face, but your argument rings hollow if you're not willing to pony up the cash.
Mhm.
You want to tell me that it should be worth, well, then great, then pay it. Oh, but they should. So you're waiting for somebody else to do it to validate your point.
Yeah, and
That's not how this works.
to
Go ahead.
to the Kobe comparison, when I'm saying that this logo man card is selling for close to 2.4 million and then the shoes are 240,000. When you're looking at that, in my eyes, it's not which one is worth more. It's more of like when you think about that, if you take out the dollar signs and you just put them on the table and you say, okay, here's a piece of cardboard with one logo man. We don't know where it came from, what game, what jersey, none of that. We don't know the significance of that patch and that card. And then he signed it. And then you set these pair of shoes over here and you tell me this is the first pair of shoes Kobe Bryant ever wore in an NBA game and they're both signed. Which one feels more significant and more important? So take the value equation, the dollar amount out of it, and just put it in front of somebody that doesn't know a thing about cards or even sports and explain to them which one are they going to think is more significant. So that's where it's like glaring of how in the hell did these shoes sell for 240,000, but yet someone was willing to pay 2.3 whatever million on this card. That's where it becomes like it feels like it's way out of balance. And then, like I was talking earlier, now you have players who are wanting the best cards for some game use memorabilia. Well, of course they're going to give you a bat. How many bats do they use in one single season? And how many seasons do they play? Unless it's their 500th home run bat or something, it's not that significant to them. I mean, look at Obi. He was collecting sticks because he wants to make a museum. I think that's cool as hell. Some of those sticks have some value to them, but I don't know. It's just this, and maybe because it's new, but I think the bigger question to me is like that stuff never popping back up. Because really, what do these players need to sell that stuff for once they have it? Like, they don't. They got more money than they really ever need. So it's just something that I've been thinking about.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fair.
I mean, I agree. I just I don't have a real answer to why you'd want a part of a jersey rather than an entire pair of shoes that are autographed, and and have the stigma. Maybe stigma is always a bad word, but from his first game as a Laker, and it doesn't make any sense to me. The only thing I can wrap my head around is maybe there are more high-end card collectors than there are sports memorabilia collectors. I don't know.
Well, that would actually be a version of my answer. The question isn't when Brandon says which one to the layman, sight unseen. If you ask them which one is more significant, I think you're going to skew towards the pair of shoes, which makes a lot of sense. Totally with you.
And that's
But
why when you put the dollars, it's more glaring
yeah,
because
but
which one feels more significant, which one would be in a museum, versus, and then when you see the dollar amount, it's like, holy shit, you wouldn't expect that. So,
yeah, but then we also have to take into account, and this is extraordinarily important. Because this is a piece of the puzzle that all the time gets left out. And let me invoke one of the rules, one of the BIC rules. Rule number 8 in the BIC rules: thou shalt not apply logic to the hobby. It's not about logic, because as soon as you get into the collectibles field, what Brandon is saying is logically sound. His statement, his argument is very logical, and it makes a lot of sense. The question isn't whether one is more significant than the other. The question is for the person that has the money. So say you're a person that could afford both of those things if you want to, or one or the other, or whatever. Theoretically, you can afford both. The question is, which thing do you want? The answer, you say like the pair of shoes is more significant. Okay, pair of shoes. But you got signed by Kobe, all that. I'm just grabbing a pair of shoes. But here's a shoe. Okay, now I got to display that shit. Where am I putting it? Do I want like a pair of his shoes or whatever, or just like a piece of cardboard that I can just put on my table? Well, to the person who has the money, they can choose. They've got that choice. To them, the money is irrelevant. Like they can afford either or.
and it might have been the same person that bought both. Like, I
It
don't
could
know
have
who
been,
the
yeah,
buyers
for
are,
sure.
but
But what the numbers are telling us though is that more of the people who have the money to make that decision are saying they would rather have the piece of cardboard because it's more maybe. And again, we can't get into the reasons why. We'd have to ask them. We need someone of that level of wealth. So I'll ask Eric after. But basically, is it a storage thing? Is it you simply didn't know? Again, that's always something somebody throw out. But what if they do know? What if they know and they make a conscious choice and they say, I understand your point. I would still rather have the cardboard thing, and I'll put it on display and I'll do all this stuff. I really don't want a stinky pair of shoes. That could be a decision. They could literally say, and if that person who then has the money to potentially bring that price up, if enough of those people say that, for whatever reason, that's going to keep the price of the pair of shoes lower, even though it's more significant. Logically, it is more significant. But the people who have the money say, I don't care. I want the thing that is easy to house, easy to hold. I don't have to explain it. I don't have to give the story behind it. Oh, yeah, I can see it's an autograph with the logo, man. Oh, that's a cool looking thing. That's really all the explanation you have to do. Go ahead, Eric.
Just throw this wrinkle in, right? So let's say Fanatics bought the sneakers for 200,000, okay, through auction. They decide they are going to cut a little bit out of these sneakers and put them in a card and sell the card as Kobe's first game worn sneakers in NBA history. How much does the card go for now? Is it more than 200,000?
well, the cards to purchase, I expect, would be very expensive because I am not aware of any Kobe cards being made since the 2019-2020 season. There might have been something out there somewhere, but I don't think that they've, like, once the accident happened, I don't think they've had any cards, like Panini's produced any cards of them since. So,
But
No, for sure.
can you imagine though? I mean, if the shoes, a pair of shoes with the provenance autographed, went for 200,000, but you got a sliver of the tongue of one shoe, and that went for $1 million. Wouldn't that just sum up everything we've said about Rule 1, 2, and 8?
Well, since we're on the topic of Kobe, and since Carlos brought the Jaden Daniels, take into it, and where it's at a particular time, there's the price that was paid, but it doesn't mean it's ever going to sell for that again.
Yeah.
There's also coincidence there that recently, I believe from what I read in the article, and I don't remember who posted. I don't know if it was Fanatics or somebody else. I doubt if it was Fanatics because they wouldn't want the negative side on it. But apparently, Kobe has broken the record for biggest loss by a sports card, and it was I think it was his Chrome Rookie Refractor, and it was a BGS Black Label. And it was when it was purchased back in 2020, 2021-ish time period, it went for some huge number. And when it recently last sold, it was down like 950 some $1,000. So it's been almost $1 million loss on it. So, and real quick, I just want to throw this out, and I know we didn't discuss this, so if you don't mind, I just thought this would be something cool to share. I shared it with you guys. I've talked about it on my channel and stuff. Actually, I did a video, I think like 6 months ago, and mentioned this in it when I was talking about football and things I had done. But I had a jersey, a Chris Henry jersey, and since we're talking about the memorabilia and all that, signed by as many Bengals players as I could get. And those that don't know, Chris Henry passed away in an accident or an altercation. And he was real close with Chad Johnson, who I had met and hung out with several times and talked to his brother all the time. Long story short, I passed that jersey on to Chad. I gave it to his brother the night before the Super Bowl, the year he was on the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
And since moving to Virginia, I've lost touch with a lot of those guys and stuff. It was easier back there because they were around the area all the time. But the other day, the weirdest thing happened, and my Instagram feed fed me this reel by some storage locker buyer guy that I'd never heard of. And it was part 11 of him buying Chad Johnson's storage locker. Now, it's crazy coincidence that it's showing me that part, but I click on it, and the first thing he pulls out of a plastic bag was that Chris Henry jersey.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, holy shit, I know what that is. And then it went further because Pac-Man Jones has a podcast now and actually had this guy on because he wanted to buy that jersey, and he offered the kid $1,000 for it. Now, I don't know if they read my email or anything, but I did email to be honest and let Pac-Man know, because he said during the podcast that he didn't care what autographs were on it. He just wanted the game-worn jersey. But it wasn't a game-worn jersey. It was just your normal Reebok replica, sewn on or whatever. So I did reach out to let him know that, it wasn't game-worn or nothing. It was just something that I had done and passed it along to Chad. And but I was like, holy shit. I never expected I would ever see that again. So I just thought it'd be cool to share that.
No, for sure. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think though, kind of playing into what kind of Eric's point and question, and also what you're talking about there, is that when you've got an item like that, sometimes the memory or the experience associated to it, or whatever the story is, surpasses the item itself. Now, the thing is, here's where it gets complicated, because what Eric was asking earlier about the theoretical, about, you take a Kobe item, if you chop it up into these pieces, it would sell for more. Part of that, though, is going back to that logic thing. Again, your logic piece is not a bad one. But if you have the ability to get, it goes back to the same thing as a jersey card. Any jersey card, doesn't matter who it is. People are willing to buy these jersey cards for X amount. And a lot of times the jersey card doesn't supersede the cost of the jersey. But if you add up the amount of pieces you get into it in totality, it surpasses the cost, which is buying the jersey itself. That's not uncommon. But part of the reason for that, and I've shown this card before, but I'll quickly share it again here. So say for this one right here. So that's the President's Choice.
Yep.
and that's one of the game used tags there as part of the jersey. Now the thing is, it's a nice card, it's a nice piece. The presentation and all of that is part of it as well. But the question would be like, okay, so this doesn't cost us the same amount as a jersey. But if you take something like this, and then you take the other jersey pieces, and you add up the patches and all that, and you add it up in totality, it would cost you more to get all the cards with all the components of it versus the price of a jersey. Here's the problem. You say to the average person, like this card right here was attractive to me because it had the tag and it was a nice design and presentation. I liked it. But then you ask me, okay, but instead of buying that, would you rather just buy a full game used jersey? Probably not, to be honest. I'm not going to buy all the components that are going to add up to it. I might get a jersey piece here. I might get that tag piece there. I might get some patch cards here. But I'm going to buy 2 or 3 different cards that are going to have that. And those cards are going to total up $300 for me. A game used jersey is going to cost $5, $6, $7, $8,000. Even if the money isn't the issue. Okay, I get this game used thing. Oh, but you could mount on your wall. Okay, cool, but I've only got a certain amount of wall space. Is that necessarily what I want to be doing? The answer might be no. So in that way, the card is actually a more attractive proposition for me, even if the money was not the object, even if the money was not the issue. What if I don't want to figure out what I need to do with a full jersey? Other people would be the opposite. They'd be like, oh yeah, no, I'd have like a closet where you could do this, or I'd have a display where you could do that. And sure, if that's what you want to do, then that's perfect. The same way that somebody else wants to have a million cards, and another person wants the exact opposite of that. It depends on what you want to get out. We remember on Friday, Eric, that I talked about when it comes to YouTube and content, you need to figure out what you want to get out of this.
Yep.
Let me convert that over to this. In your collecting pursuits, you need to figure out what you want to get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
What is it that you want? And then sometimes it evolves over time. Sometimes you have an idea in your head. You think, I'm going to do this. That's your goal. And then as you get close, as you work towards it or work on it, you realize, actually, I don't necessarily want to stick it out and get to that.
Yeah, look at the old stuff, and I think why a lot of people like. I mean, this isn't throwing shade at you, Eric, but part of the reason you like to stay in your 68, 69 Peachy stuff is a simple reason. You have one goal to complete the set. And back in the day, there wasn't a bunch of insert sets and everything else to misguide you or go down another path. You had a damn checklist, and you wanted to, you had your 9 pocket page binders or whatever, and your goal was to complete the set. It wasn't nothing else to do with it. It was very simple and straightforward. Complete the set. So,
yeah.
I think there's a little bit of shade there. I did enjoy the slight little bit of shade.
I was looking for some shade, hoping for some shade.
It was very subtle. It was very subtle.
Looking to fight, and it really came up kind of lame. So I hope you do better next time.
Speaking of game use, though, and I'm not big on game use jerseys and stuff. I have all my jerseys are actually in the closet, just hung up, because to your point, wall space gets kind of.
It can get but yeah. I think a lot of people downplay that. They talk about, oh man, I'd love to have it. It's like, it sounds great on paper, but what if then you, again, and Eric, just to be truthful, I have maybe 5 or 6 different autographed Mike Modano jerseys that I own in my collection. How many of them do you see hung up behind me?
Yeah. All of my stuff's in the closet.
It is possible. I've got a little bit of wall space. Eric, I've got enough wall space here to hang up one. I'd have to make a choice. I'd have to pick one, and that'd be it. Because I just don't, and my office is fine. I don't want to put it through the rest of my house, Eric. Like, there is a limit to how much space I want to devote to this, but I've got like 5 or 6 of them. And I've got one more that I would like to get. Well, they're all literally sitting in a closet, just hanging like this, Eric. How's that for display? Not much of a display, is it?
Yeah, no, it sucks.
But
there are limitations.
If anybody happens to find a way, and I'm being serious, to get that bat that Victor Robles threw at the pitcher, I would definitely, because I do collect Victor Robles. I mean, we were talking about full bats versus, pieces. I got pieces, very good pieces.
Yep.
But I would like that bat. Now, it was actually put in the Discord a little bit further details that I didn't know about. And I've met the guy and everything several times. He did apologize and said that he's been dealing with the passing of his mother as well. and he let the frustration get to him. So, it doesn't make it necessarily right or wrong, but he had been hit many times and few at bats, and then he also has losing his mother on his mind, probably why he's got the pink sleeves on there in honor of his mother. And he said enough was enough. So yeah, hopefully he can get back on the field at some point. I don't know if he's going to get suspended or what. But he is in a rehab assignment right now because he messed his shoulder up earlier in the year. So
Is that why he's playing in Tacoma?
yeah,
Right now, it's part of a
broke-
rehab assignment.
I think he broke his shoulder or something, going all out, full speed, made a diving catch and hurt himself, but he was playing hard, and now he's trying to come back from that. But yeah, I seen it when I seen it pop up. I was like, damn, that's not like him. But I guess there's a bit more to it. So
But Eric,
serious question. Is he a very small man, or is that the biggest catcher in history?
he's not like huge. He's probably 5'11" and maybe 180, something like that, 200 maybe at the most. I don't even
So,
think he's pushing
So
200.
that catcher is 7 feet tall.
Eric,
Well,
do you
he's
not
kind
see
of
it in his
knelt down
do you
and
not see in his
everything.
throwing motion? His legs are literally wide. Like he's actually
he's
trying to.
pretty far down. His
No,
knees are
he's
bent
using
and
good-
they're spread.
He's using good biomechanics, by the way, to throw that bat.
Yeah,
If you're gonna throw the bat,
I understand he's in a little bit of a crouch, but
not a little bit of a crouch. He's actually
That
he's
is
really
just-
making sure he doesn't
that
hurt
is
himself.
quite a size difference.
Yes. Now I
Well,
was gonna
let
say
me
though.
pull up here.
Yeah. Now I was gonna say though, and I think you'll agree with this, Eric. We were joking about it on the Discord, but I'll stand by it. This is the image that I want to see Topps include in a super short print.
Yeah,
I want the bat throwing super short print. Let's go.
yeah, absolutely.
Fanatics Overlords. Let's make this happen.
also-
That's
So
a
that
great
catcher
action
is
shot.
6'4".
Only card of the week.
There you go. So
Who's
catcher
6'8"?
6'4".
Catcher.
Yep.
6'4".
And Robles is 6'1", 193. So
Like Eric, he's basically crouched. Like I don't even like his knee bend is fully bent. The knees are bent.
Yeah, he looks really small next to that catcher. But okay.
Yeah. A little thing called optical illusion. Also, Robles is the one closest to us in that shot. It's an angle thing. But like I said, I want to see that super short print. I think that would be an awesome
well,
card. That'd be amazing.
there is him next to me. So he's not like I'm 5'11". So, and you can kind of see we're almost the same height right there. So
Here you go. So bottom line is that, yeah, no, I think when it comes to that piece though, like I said, when it comes to that, originally I was going to discuss a little bit more. I think we're going to wind down the topic here because right now I think it's good for an episode. I want to revisit this though. I want to come back to it next week and I want to follow up because one of the things we were talking about relating to that value thing was really how a lot of times is the comparison to the old time players versus the new time players and why are these old time players not worth as much because we briefly alluded to it. And part of the reason is the same as the memorabilia argument. Well, why is the piece of memorabilia worth less than the card with a piece of memorabilia on in some cases? And the answer is the buyers are the ones who make that choice. What you think they should be worth is all fine and dandy, but the person who's arguing the loudest is the one who's also not willing to pay it. Like you have to be willing to pay it. If you think, and I use the example of like the memorabilia piece, if you think the Kobe Bryant shoes should have been worth more than the Logo Man card, okay, then pay $2 million for the shoes. But the thing is, you didn't have to because nobody else thought they needed to. So when it went for auction, 200,000 covers it. It's not just about the high bidder. It's about the people underneath. It's the underbidder that helps decide what that final price is. Both guys were willing to. So the underbidder, Eric, was not willing to go higher than the 200,000. Therefore, that's what it's worth.
That's it.
So like, you think the Logo Man should be worth less? That's not the argument here. Somebody was willing to pay at least that amount, at least in that situation, and they were not willing to pay for that for the shoes. They made a choice. And we're all making choices all the time. If you disagree, then by all means pay more. Eric wants to get the Reggie Lemon, mark it up. He's going to have to pay $550 for 1989 Reggie Lemon base cards. Let's go.
well, I'm sure we've seen it, in past hit. Just throwing other examples out. I'm pretty positive there's probably Babe Ruth cards that have sold for more than Babe Ruth game used bats. And how
Yep.
many game used Ruth bats do you see?
Yep.
You know, so
Yeah, I'd rather have
The,
a bat.
yeah, but the question isn't who whether you'd rather have a bat or not. The question is, would you rather have a bat and pay? It's the card is not coming down. The card is the price it's at. Are you willing to pay more for the bat than the card? The problem is, the people have said no. The people who have had the opportunity to do that very thing said no when they had the opportunity because the underbidder said no. The winning bidder, congratulations, you won it, and you've got to pay less than the card, but that's because the underbidder didn't want to pay more than that. If they did, then it would have gone for higher. And that's the reason why regardless, that's the reason why these things are the way they are. You disagree? Pay more then. That's the answer, pay more. Because if you won't, and everybody else won't, then that's the market. It doesn't matter what you think it should be. And I don't understand why you think the market should suddenly be higher. Why do you want to suddenly pay more? If the answer is clearly you can get it for less, well, then congratulations, take the bargain.
No,
you feel like it should be worth more, then take the discount, man.
No,
enjoy the discount.
Of course, if you can get something cheaper, that's great. But just the fact that it is so different in price, and obviously, Brandon and I both think the shoes are worth more than the card. And it's just, if you got to throw around that kind of money, it's like, why? It doesn't make a lot of sense to us. But
I was trying to find the article because they gave several examples of Kobe items that had sold, but I can't find it.
So we'll circle back around that conversation, and we'll bring some concrete examples and everything that can be part of the discussion. So we'll have it. And like I said, by that point, we may be on our brand new show on the Because I'm Bench Clear Media. As I work on 10xing it all. Get ready for the V-Friend show.
The name to Because I'm on the bench or something.
We'll figure it out, man. We'll workshop it. First, I need Mike or whoever owns it to sell it to me for a nominal fee. That's going to be.
Well, you said you got $1.50. I think me and Eric could each toss in $1. I mean, I'm a little light on the wallet with those $50 scallops.
I was going to say, listen, you're out there. You're out there.
Scrape it up a little bit.
You're out there paying for scallop dinners, man. You're highfalutin over there. I don't know what to tell you.
I can ask my wife for an advance in my allowance. Maybe I can get $5 or so.
This could be very exciting.
Eric's like, hell with $1.50. We're going to $5.
That's what I'm saying. This could get nuts. You want to get nuts? We're about to get nuts. It's going to be crazy. One more thing, actually. I want to pose a question to the people that listened all the way through the end. Here's a question for you. By the way, we appreciate the engagement. Feel free to put in the comments. We always appreciate the engagement. Again, I read through all the comments from last week, so appreciate the engagement and comments on that. But I do have a question. We've always joked about, especially on the Friday, how Eric is so bitter about the 1986 Red Sox. But I got a question. Since we were talking about this whole thing about the fandom and everything a little earlier, I have a question. What if the 86 Red Sox had succeeded? What if Eric's endless complaint? Here's the sliding doors moment. Would this be, so instead of Sanderson to Orr, would this be like Roger Clemens to, Bill Buckner? Would it be Clemens to Buckner? Like, what would the alternate name? What is the alternate universe Eric that actually witnesses victory in 1986? Victory! So what is it? If he's not Sanderson to Orr, what is he? Is he Clemens to Buckner? Buckner to Clemens?
Buckner MVP.
Maybe? In the comments, if you made it to the end, I want alternative handles for Eric where the 1986 Red Sox won. I want to know what those are. See, we challenge the people, Brandon. We challenge the people.
I don't even want to think about it.
Red Sox faux life.
Faux life.
LYFE.
Oh, man. I love it. I love it. Fantastic. Suggestions in the comment section. All right, that's it. For Baubles and Ball cards, possibly known associate of 540 flips, and possibly helping us fund this new Bench Clear Media venture. Now that it's suddenly become available, this may get very interesting. And Eric, Clemens to Buckner, Buckner to Clemens, or whatever else he becomes. Who knows? You can send your complaints to Sanderson to Orr on Instagram. Send all the complaints. Send potential fight cards that we can promote. The Battle of Massachusetts might be over, but that doesn't mean other battles can't be had. And I will take it upon myself. If we get really good suggestions, I'll take it upon myself, Eric, to milk this for at least 3 or 4 weeks minimum.
Oh, how could you not?
Minimum.
How could you?
Anything less would be uncivilized.
Not?
That's
I
a reference to. That's a reference to, by the way. Y'all know that one. Look that one up. Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you to AMG for supporting the podcast and the channel as always. Links in the description, scrolling ticker. I will be back with the collector of the scallops, the very expensive scallops, so it would seem.
Scallops.
And the people. And that'll be it for this one. Episode 141 in the books. We'll catch you in the next one.